Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video. My name is Angel DeSantis. This week's video is going to be on how to make friends after you have deconstructed, or how to make friends after you've left a community. Because a lot of us who have left religious communities have a very particular set of problems, multiple, in trying to make new friends. So I'm going to touch on that today. And before I forget, please click like and subscribe, and share this with people that you think would find it useful. So hello and welcome. If you happen to see that's beet juice. So I tried washing it off and it's not coming off, but I figured I would just explain. My computer's over here, so I'm going to look. But I wanted to make this video for friends of mine who have also come out of the same cult that I was in. I was in the Children of God, and it's kind of gone one or two ways. I've been out now for about 13 years, and it's been interesting because some of us responded by cutting all contact, or a lot of us were cut out of contact, and then you go into the world and you make a group of friends because you're kind of forced to, and it's kind of survival of the fittest. And sometimes they tell people all about their past, sometimes they never mention it again. And then for some of us who later on started leaving in groups, some of them only stayed friends with the group that left and have made no new friends or no, quote, outsider friends. So nobody from the, quote, real world has been brought into the group that left. Like, they left from the cult and they stayed really nuclear, and they haven't made friends outside of that. So it's been interesting to see and watch, and I got some comments talking about how difficult it is to find friends. And I'm just going to talk first about how to make friends, and how to make friends to identify the things that stand in the way. Because you can't just go out and make new friends. Generally, there's something that holds us back from feeling comfortable enough to do that. And so I think the first step is to identify what is the thing that stops you from making new friends or from feeling comfortable enough to involve yourself in the world. And for me, it was twofold. One, I felt like a weirdo. So I was like, nobody would want to be friends with me anyway, because I was taught that I was trash. So I was like, why would anyone be friends with me? Because I'm trash. And two, I felt a lot of shame. A lot. And I was like, I can't even explain my past to anybody. And then when I do, it's going to be like, they're going to think I'm a terrible person. And then how can I explain my abuse or how I was raised? Like, they're going to be worried about me being around their kids. So when I left, for a while, I didn't make any new friends, and I didn't tell anybody about how I grew up. And that was it. That was the blockage, where it was like I had shame. I had a lot of shame around telling people about my past, and I didn't think I was worth being friends with anyways. So for you, if you're in this space and you're like, I want to make new friends, can you identify what the blockage is that stands in the way? Because then what I had to do is go in and work on the shame triggers and work out, like, you know what? I actually do think I would be a good friend because I like people and I think I have a lot to offer, and standing by that and actually writing that down and being like, how am I as a friend? And realizing that I did have friends when I was in the group. I did have like human bonds with people, and I treated them well, and I thought that I was a good friend. So I was like, okay, that one's out of the way. I can be a good friend. But then the second one, which was the shame one, that took a little bit longer to sort through. But it was useful to know that I had a lot of shame. So once I worked through that, then I was like, okay, now I know my barriers. I've worked through my barriers. Now I can start to go out and make friends. But I think the first step is identifying what's stopping you. Or is there something inside of you that feels like you're not worth getting to know? And that's something really useful to know. So my number one thing in trying to make new friends is identify if there's something internal that's standing in the way as a barrier to you to making new friends. And then the second thing when it comes to making new friends is the worry that your new friends are going to treat you like your old ones did. And if you had friends in the church, or for me, I had friends in the cult, which same but different. When I left, I felt a huge disconnect. And if you were in the church and you left, I'm sure you felt a huge disconnect. Or for some of you, you were actually shunned and people were not allowed to speak to you. And these were people that you had really deep bonds with, or that you felt that you had really deep connections with, and they just one day to the next will stop speaking to you because now you're a non-believer and now you are shunned. And that's so non-human, and that's so deeply painful, and that's just a really big rift in how human connection is supposed to go. And obviously that is something that is designed by the church to make you feel terrible about yourself. But when you have felt that from really close friends or family, it does make you kind of gun shy. It does make you not want to make new friends, because if your family members and friends you have known for like 30 years can turn on you from one day to the next, then what is the point of making new friends? So I think if there is a wound there where you have felt really hurt by someone you considered a close friend or a family member, it's important to grieve that wound. And when you go to make new bonds, it's important to know that the new bonds that you're going to create are not going to be the same ones that you had previously. And I think that's really important to know. So when you go out and you make a new friend, that new bond is going to be different than the one that you had in the church or the one that you had in the cult. So the nice thing about making new friends is that you can form a completely new bond. So it's important to know that those two things are different. Old friendships and new friendships will be different. And you can have a healthier relationship in the new ones. And the third point is the idea that people are either real friends or fake friends. They're either super superficial, and I think that I've heard this a lot from people where they're like, oh, I can't make friends, everyone's fake. Or I can't make friends, everyone's superficial. And especially being in LA, I hear that a lot. Like, how can you make friends? Everyone there is fake. And if you have been on this channel, you might recognize that sort of statement as like black and white. And you know that if you were raised in the church, we were raised with black and white thinking. So it's the idea that either someone is willing to like die for God's beliefs and die for the church, or they're terrible, or they're not one of us. They're one of them, and those people are shallow. Those people are materialistic. And if you have gone from being in the church to being out of the church and trying to make friends, why would you make friends with those people? And you might still have that mindset of like me versus them. So we had this whole trope in our cult, and I'm sure you've had it too if you were in a church, where it's like you're in the world, but you're not part of the world. And again, if you didn't change that mindset when you left, it'll be the same. So you're out here trying to make friends, but you still kind of low-key have a superiority complex because everyone out in the world is one of them. And you still don't want to associate. You still want to feel special. And if that resonates with you, it's important to notice that and look at that because I don't know you, but if it resonated with you, it's important just to know and then ask yourself, like, do I want to be superior? Do I think I'm superior? And then just make a note that like, no, I don't. And then think about if you act also like you are not superior. Because we sometimes have aggressions, microaggressions. For some of us, aggression. But for a lot of us, the Christian mindset is full of these little microaggressions and full of these little holier than thou or better than thou attitudes. And I know that if you were part of the church and then you deconstructed, you have felt that. And you can't quite pinpoint it. But it's just these self-righteous people who just will always have these microaggressions at you. And if you didn't deconstruct that, you might still kind of bring that with you into the world as you try to make new friends. But it is important that when you are meeting someone, that you meet them as an equal. You're not superior and you're not a victim. You're meeting them right here. You're meeting them as an equal. And looping back to the whole fake friends thing, when you're doing a black and white mindset, someone is either really good or not good enough. And so when you're trying to make friends, people are really flawed. And when you're in that black and white mindset from the church and you're trying to make friends, it can be like, oh, we had one good interaction with this person. This person is great. This person is going to be my friend. And then you kind of go all in. And then you're willing to like stand with this person. You're willing to like really vouch for them when really you don't know them. But that's how the church set up your brain to make connections. If you meet someone from a neighboring church that has the same values as you, you're supposed to let them into your home. You're supposed to let them around your children. You're never supposed to question. But then if somebody is an outsider or an enemy, then they're terrible, and you don't, like, even if they're homeless and they need help, it's like you do not let them in. And so when you're making friends, it's just a terrible mindset to have. And what it does is it doesn't make you give the other person time to show who they are. And so I know some people who they make friends and they go all in, they go really deep right away. And then something happens and this person shows their character like 3 or 4 interactions in. And then there's the switch of like, no, that person was trash. They came off so good. I don't understand how people can fake it so well. And, you know, that person is trash. And, you know, everyone just lies to me, I guess. And it's like, no, you did that thing where you had one interaction and then you went all in. And then when you got new information, and like, I'm glad this person changed their mind given new information, because sometimes we're taught to just hang on even if there's new contradicting information. But when this person got conflicting information with the view they held of this person, the conclusion was like, all right, they're fake, they're shunned, they're out. And then it's this unachievable standard of no one can meet me here. I have so much to offer this person. I have so much to offer as a friend. No one can meet me there. And that comes from that, again, that black and white mindset of either these people are part of the fold or these people are part of Satan's flock. And people are just people. You want to meet people as they are, and you want to give, I think I read an article on the internet, which is how you know it's true, where they said you need to have 11 positive interactions to counteract one bad one. And I think a lot of us, when we're trying to make friends, if we have like 3 or 4 positive interactions, then we might feel like, oh, this person's great. This person is always great. And that's not really enough yet. That's not enough of a connection to form an actual strong, informed bond and for it to hold after tension shows up. So it's important to understand that these things take time. Human connection and human bonds take time. And I'm sure that you can think of friends or interactions that you've had that started going well, but then maybe dropped off, or maybe they moved or something. And human connection is made over time. And a lot of us who grew up in the church didn't have time. A lot of us were moving, we were going to the mission fields. If you were in my cult, you were dying all the time. So there was always a time crunch to make friends, which again, makes you do the black and white. The like, this is my best friend or this is Satan's friend. But you want to find a happy medium. You want to find someone, create a bond, take in new information as it comes, and let that grow over time. Let that kind of percolate and change and grow. And then as there's new information coming in, you're here, you're receiving it, and it's the friendship dynamic is something that grows over time. It's not an instant, yes, this is my best friend and I stand by them and I'm loyal, or this is a fake friend. 4th is to look for commonality. And friendships are not made based off of loyalty and the willingness to die for the cause. Friendships are made off of having things in common. So for me, I've made a lot of friends hiking. I met some random person on a hike, and we realized we both really liked hiking, so we started meeting each other at these different mountains that we wanted to go to and we wanted to hike. And I've had 7 interactions with this person so far, and it's great. And I'm still getting to know them. I don't consider them a like really deep core friend, but I can see a really nice bond beginning to develop. And we have something in common, so it's easy to continue the friendship. So if you were new and if you're watching this, you're not new, you're fully grown. But if you're here and you're wanting to make new friends, start with what you like. Ask yourself what you like, what do you like to do, and where are the places that you can show up at because it's something that you enjoy. Because for me, I don't like bowling. I'm not gonna go find a friend and try and schedule bowling. That's just not gonna work for me. But for me, hiking, I can make hiking friends really easily because threaten me with a good time. I'll show up on a trail, you know? You don't have to, it's not like pulling teeth to get me to a trailhead at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll do that. So find friends that like the same things that you do, or when you find yourself doing an activity and there's someone else there, Strike up a conversation, ask them how long they do it, and you'll instantly have something in common with them because you're doing an activity that you both enjoy. So find commonality, go do something that you love to do that you can be very easily convinced to do, and make friends there and start having interactions there. And again, remembering that you're going for a lot of interactions. You're not trying to find one person and be like, this is my person forever. And then if I don't have this friend, I don't have any one friend. It's like, no. Show up in those places, get to know multiple people. That way the friendship is spread out and all friendships can start here and slowly track over time, as opposed to having one person who is kind of everything in your friendship world. It's important to have it kind of spread out. And that way you can also see friendships develop. You can see certain ones go up, certain ones go like this, certain ones, they're all different, but find something that you enjoy doing and meet people there and talk about the thing that you like doing. And that'll be the first step towards a little bit of a fun friendship. Finally, my number 5 is to not share your background in your first interaction with them, or maybe your second. Maybe you can share it on the 3rd or 4th. But what I have noticed is that some of us feel the need to apologize for our trauma. So we bring it up right away and we feel like, let's just show it all. And if the person can stick around, if they can take like the ugliness of who I am, then it'll be fine. And I think for us in our brain, if your brain is still in black and white thinking, that makes sense. But to foster human connection, that doesn't necessarily make sense. And again, not a humanity expert, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But what I have found is that when you show up and you just kind of blah, like, this is who I am, I was abused, and this is my background, and I have a hard time, and I'm a hard person to deal with, you're kind of showing the other person right away that you haven't processed everything. And that's fine. And maybe you're in that place where you haven't processed everything yet, in which case, stay processing stuff. Because there's the moment that you realize what you've been through, and then there's the moment that you process what you've been through, and then there's integration of making all of that at center in your life and then taking your centered self out into the world. So if this is all sounding like too much for you, that's fine. You might be in your processing phase. And your processing phase is anywhere from like 1 to 17 years. Hopefully less, but who knows. But process that stuff inside of yourself that I mentioned in number 1. Like, you might still be finding out what barriers there are to friendship, in which case, great. Stay there, uncover that, deal with that. But when you are out making new friends, nobody is owed your story. You don't owe an explanation for your life to anyone. You do not need to show up and try and scare people off with your ugly to see if they stay. Because that, again, is a sort of religious / loyalty mindset of like a ride or die mindset. And for me, if you're going to tell me to ride or die, I'm just not going to engage with that sort of mindset. And I've had people be like, try and test me and be like, well, I need to make sure that you're loyal. Can you say to me that you're loyal to me? And I'm like, no, because why would I need to be really loyal to you? Like, if we have a proper bond, then that wouldn't be something to ask for. But when somebody asks you for loyalty like that, that's actually kind of a red flag and can mean that this person hasn't processed how to connect properly yet. Because if you're in a true friendship, again, there's a mutual respect and there is a cadence of the relationship that both of you are feeding. It's not demanding loyalty from one person or the other. So when you are making new friends, it's important to remember that you don't owe anybody loyalty. You don't owe anybody your story. And what you want to do is have the other person be seen and heard, and also feel like you yourself are seen and heard. Because a lot of times when we make new friends, we still feel like we have to earn it. And we have to earn it maybe by loyalty, maybe by service, or maybe by making ourselves really small or not having any needs of our own. And that's not what a healthy friendship is based off of. And if you base any of your friendships off of not needing anything, you will attract somebody who has nothing to give you. They only can take from you, and they will never offer you anything because they know that you'll never ask for it. So when you're showing up in a new relationship, make sure that you both feel comfortable. And what you want to do is create a safe space. And once that safe space is created and you feel a bond with this person and you see that you would like to continue this relationship, then you can start to relay to them the parts of your story that you're comfortable with. But it's not a black or a white. It's not showing up and being like, here's all my trauma, can you handle it? And it's not a never speaking of it again. It's a making sure that you both have created a really nice bond that both of you feel comfortable in, that you can start to slowly unfold your story. And for those of us who have had friendships maybe for like 10 years now, but you have never mentioned your past, it isn't too late to mention it. And it's important that should you choose to do so, that at no point up until this point have you owed anyone your story. So some people I've heard have felt really guilty of like, well, I've made friends with my boss, but now I've worked for them for 15 years and they don't know anything about my past. So they're going to feel like I've lied to them if I tell them. It's like, no, that's also not how friendship works. If you have created that bond and you feel safe, then you can be like, look, I now feel safe enough to tell you something about my past that has brought me a lot of shame. And I wish I was in a place to bring it up to you earlier. I hope that this doesn't make you feel devalued in any way, but I just hadn't processed it until this point. And there's always a way to further the relationship and to deepen a bond that you have. But it always starts with you keeping yourself safe, making sure that you feel comfortable in the relationship, making sure that you've processed the things that are standing in your way so that you can fully show up and meet someone else as an equal. Find the commonality and start to have these fun little connections with human beings, other human beings, and just see how many positive interactions you can have. And again, the ratio, according to the internet, is 11 positive interactions to 1 negative. And think about your friendships. See if they pass that hurdle. Hopefully they do. If they don't, that's just something to note. Also, I don't know how much credence you want to give to the internet. Articles Angel read on the internet might not be the bar. Maybe there's another bar, but that is something to think about. So I hope that this was helpful. For those of you who are going out and trying to make new friends, keep trying. Keep trying. It's literally a numbers game. There's 7 billion people. you can make new friends. So go out there, try it, see how it goes, but keep trying. Work through the things that stand in the way, show up, offer yourself, and create safe spaces where you can exist with other human beings. So that's my video this week. I will see you all next Thursday.